Okay, Bezos Hashem, today's daf is Masechta Sanhedrin Daf Kuf Yud, 110. So we'll make it bigger over here. We're going to start from Kuf Tes Amud Beis by the Meraglim. It says here Meraglim. We're talking about those groups of people that do not have a chelik in Olam Haba. Okay, so one of the groups that we mentioned was Meraglim, the 10 spies that went to spy on Eretz Yisrael, and they brought back a bad report. So the Mishnah said, "Ein lehem chelik lo'olam haba." They have no share in the future world. That means they're not going to stand up Tchias HaMesim to get any reward. So that's what we said, that the Meraglim are not going to get. Hi, Lewis. We just began. So with Kuf Tasamad Beis, towards the bottom. Meraglim ein lehem chelik hamabah. Meraglim have no share in olam haba. That means they're not going to get up tchias hamesim, and they're not going to get a reward, of course. But however, I want to point out they will get up tchias hamesim to get punished. That's an important point, and I want to bring out. Some people. Hi, we just began. We're on Kuf Tes Amid Beis. So Meraglim ein lehem chelik olam haba. The Meraglim do not have a share in olam haba. That means they're not going to get a reward in olam haba, but they will get up in the olam haba. That means they will get up tchias hamesim to get punished. So in a way, they're much worse than some people who will not even get up to get punished, but they won't get up for reward either. So Meraglim ein lehem chelik olam haba. Shnema vayimusu anashim mitziyah dibas haaretz ra'a b'magefa. They died in those that gave a bad report in a plague. Now it doesn't say vayimusu b'magefa. They died in a plague. It says and then it says b'magefa in a plague. So we darshan vayimusu ba'olam hazeh. They died in this world. B'magefa in that plague lo'olam haba, that they're never coming back in tchias hamesim to get any reward. Now we're going into the story of Korach. Adas Korach, the characters that joined Korach, which is the 250 men, and plus there was Dasan, Aviram, and Ein Ben Palas, and Korach himself, and they mounted an attack against Moshe Rabbeinu. So the Brishna said, Adas Korach ein lehem chelik olam haba. They have no share in the olam haba. Shenema, because the pasuk says when they were swallowed up by the earth, the earth covered them up. They were lost. From the congregation. Vayovdu means they were lost. What does it mean? Rabbi Kiva holds that they will not come back in Olam Haba. Rabbi Lezer says, I'm them. The Chana wrote, Chana, who came from the family of Korach. She said, Hashem causes people to die and then brings them back to life. Moirich oil, and he causes some people to go alive into Gehenna, purgatory. Vayal, and bring them up. So basically, Reb Lezer's opinion is, although they were swallowed live into Gehenna, they're going to come back. Tana Rabban, rabbis taught, Adas Korach ein lehem chelik olam haba, shnema, v'tchasenim ha'aretz b'nam zeh, v'yivnim terech kol olam haba, the Rabbi Kiva. Again, Rabbi Kiva maintains his position that the congregation, the group that followed Korach, will not come back in Olam Haba. Rabbi Yehuda ben Meseira, Rabbi Yehuda ben Meseira says they they're like a lost item that's being searched for, and they're like it says Vayovdu, they were lost. Now we have to find them. So Shnema Tisi Kisei Oived, I was lost like a sheep that's lost. Bakesh Avdecha, search for me. I didn't forget your mitzvahs. So these people were great people. So although they made a mistake and started up against Moshe Rabbeinu, or mistake or whatever, but they served out their term in Gehenna, and they're going to come back in Olam Haba. Now the Gemara we're darshaning every part of Korach. It says Korach was the first one to incite a quarrel against Moshe Rabbeinu. Vayikach Korach took. Amarach Shlaka says, Shalokach mechara la'atzmai. He took a bad purchase for himself to start a fight against Moshe Rabbeinu. He's his own fault. Lahavdu, like Trump, whatever. You dig your own hole. So basically, he dug his own hole. Kairach, we darshan, his name was Kairach. Shenasa Karcha B'Yisrael. He caused a bald spot in the Jewish people, because after him, with the destruction, a good portion of righteous people were missing. They were punished. Ben Yitzar, his name was son of Yitzar. Ben Shertiach Olavis Kaloilim Kachatzarayim. He caused an anger against the entire world like it's hot at noontime. God was angry at this whole event. Ben Kahas, he's called the son of Kahas. Ben Shehika Shinu Malidov. He caused his parents, which that they couldn't get the words out of their mouth. This is like a reference to the Russia that we're going to have in the Agadah. And because they were so embarrassed by him. Ben Levi, he was called Levi. Ben Shanasa Levoy Begehenim. Kairach stayed in Gehenim so long that he was the escort. When somebody is coming into Gehenim, he's going to escort that person into Gehenim. Says the Gemara, Ben Yaakov, why does the Pasuk does not say that it's Korach ben Yitzhak ben Kos ben Levi, and Levi was the son of Yaakov, Ben Sha'akav Atzman to Gehenim, and will darshan the son that attached himself to Gehenim. Yaakov prayed by himself, and he said, "Don't mention my name." Yaakov, for some reason, prayed that when they give the lineage of these people who did bad things, like during the Meraglim or during the Kairach, Yaakov said, don't connect them, that they are my grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren. So that's why we don't mention Ben Yaakov in that pasuk. The other character that was involved in Korach's, partner in crime was named Dasan, Sha'av Das Kel. He transgressed the moral law of God. Abiram, his other partner was Abiram. She'ibar mi'asois tshuva. He strengthened himself from doing tshuva. Apparently, he had to be very stubborn about ever doing tshuva. But then there was a person called Oin ben Peles. And what we do see in the Pasuk was that he was initially part of the group, and then Oin ben Peles did not get punished with the rest of the group. So the Gemara is going to understand that he ended up doing tshuva. He backed out. But Oin ben Peles, he sat in mourning and did tshuva. Peles nasloi plois, a wondrous thing happened to him. Ben Reuven ben Sharav, he understood that he was on the wrong side. Amarav. So how did he get out of this situation? He was originally part of the group of Kairach, and then he backed away. So the Gemara says, Oin ben Peles ishtahi tzalitoi. Latu, his wife saved him. Amrle, she tried to have reason with him. My nafka loch minna. What's the difference to you? If Korach wins, you're still going to be the student. If Moshe wins, on Talmida, you'll be a student. You're not gaining anything from this argument. Amallah, he asked her, my Ever, what should I do? I was part of the original plan to go up against Moshe, and I swore that I'll stay with the group. Amrle, she said to him, Yadanu, the kul knishta kadishtaninu. All these people that are part of the group are holy people. They don't like to look at women. That's what she told him. Amrle, so she said to him like this. The wife of Ben Peles said, Tuv, you stay. I'm going to save you. What did she do? She gave him to drink wine. And she made her husband, Ben Peles, get drunk. And she put him to sleep inside the tent, so that when they called for his name to come, he could not hear them. So he did not violate his shavua of not breaking away from the group. Aisvela al-Baba, she sat by the door of the tent. We go to Kufyura Amar Aleph, Usrasa Lamazyoya, and she undid her hair. So all these great people came and says, Oin ben Peles, come with us with Korach and to go up against Moshe. But told the Asa Chazia, but when they passed his tent, they saw her sitting outside. Hada, they backed away. Adam until he woke up. Ivluhu, the story was over. Korach and his henchmen were all swallowed up. So that was the story of having a good wife, of the wife of Oin ben Peles. Says the Gemara, Itzay de Korach, the wife of Korach was the opposite. Amrlei, she said to him, Chazumai Aved Kavim Moshe. Look what Moshe did to you. You have a malka. There's a lot of nepotism in the way Moshe set things up. He's the king. Lachu Yishav Kana Rabba. His brother Aaron is the Kohen Gadol. Livnei Achoy Yishav Nesagina the Kana. And for his nephews, he made them assistant Kahanim. Asya Truma. If you have Truma, they say Tevel the Kohen. Give it to his family, the Kohen. He also Maisa the Shakli. If you're going to give Maisa and you Kairach are going to take it, says his wife, you still have to give a 10% to his family. Ama have the Chad Miyud the Kohen. They're going to tell you give a 10% of that to the Kohen, which is called Truma Smaisa. V'oid, and furthermore, the guy is le mezaiche. He cut your hair off to make fun of you. He shakes you around, kikufte, like a piece of garbage. His eyes is looking at your beautiful hair, and therefore he asked you to shave your hair. We know that Levium had to shave their head and shave their entire body bald. So again, so he did this to make you look strange. Amallah. So Korach told his wife, but Moshe Rabbeinu did the same. So obviously it's not just against us. She said to him, "Kaven the cooler of Visa today, since he is getting all the royal benefits. So he doesn't mind doing it. Let me die together with the plishon. In other words, sometimes you join it, although you're separate from it." So she told him the reason why Moshe Rabbeinu agreed to shave his head and his entire body is because he's still going to remain the king. But he did it so that you should do it and you should, feel and look funny. Another thing that his wife told him, he told you to put chelis, blue wool, on your tzitzis. If he holds blue wool is the most important, you take an entire cloak, entire beged, entire piece of clothing, four-cornered clothing, and you make the whole thing out of blue wool, and your whole group should wear that blue clothing. Because if tchelis is so important, I don't need one string to be tchelis. Take the whole clothing and make it tchelis. So basically, she incited her husband to go up and challenge Moshe Rabbeinu. That's why the pasuk says, a smart woman can build a house. That's the wife of Ein ben Peles. And the corrupted woman can dismantle a good home. That's the wife of Korach. Says the Gemara, there are 250 people that challenged Moshe Rabbeinu. Who are these people? They were unique people of Klal Yisrael. They were good at math. They knew how to expand the years and set them a new moon. So they were super smart people. Anshe Shem, famous people, means they were rich. They had a good name in the entire world. And they stood up and challenged Moshe along with Korach. So Korach is not just a loner. He had the best of the Jewish people join him in this campaign. Vayishma Moshe vayipal apanav. The Moshe heard what they were doing and he fell on his face. Machshmu shmama. What did he hear that caused him to fall on his face? Amrab Shmuel bar Nachman Rabbi Yonasan shechashuduhu beishasish. Since Moshe Rabbeinu was a single guy, because he, according to the Chumash, he had to divorce his wife. So everybody started accusing him that he's sleeping with his own wife. Shenema vayikanu Moshe b'machna. Shmuel bar Yitzchak melamed shekol echad ve'echad kini ishtem Moshe. Shenema Moshe kasoya v'natalim chutz l'machna. Moshe was so embarrassed by this rumors that were going about him, because everybody started telling his wife, "Stay away from Moshe Rabbeinu. I don't want you to have any time close with Moshe Rabbeinu." And Moshe, because I think that you might have relations with him. And Moshe had to take his tent and plant it away from the camp. Then the pasuk says, "Vayakam Moshe v'yelech al Dasan v'Aviram." While this challenge was going on, Moshe Rabbeinu, forgo his honor and tried to make peace with Dasan and Aviram, and tried to explain to them that it's not him, it's the Rabbeinu Shalom that's giving him the instructions. Amar Shlaka says, "Mikan, from here, she'ein machzikim b'machlekes." If there's an argument, don't hold on to it. Try to break it up as soon as you can, because once there's an argument and it continues, it's very hard to break up as time goes on. Rav said, whoever holds on to an argument, gets an aver of a lav. It's like a remez, but you're not supposed to do something like that. If you hold on to a machlekes and you don't try to break it up as soon as you can, then you're worthy of getting sick and getting leprosy. Moshe got leprosy, and it says biyad Moshe loy by the machlekes of Kairach. So if you're not going to, the Gemara darshans that if you're not going to try to make peace as if you can, then you're worthy of getting leprosy. Bottom line is that when a person's within a machlekes and he feels that the other wronged him, so at the beginning it's very easy just to be moichel and just let the other person have one up on you if you can make peace, if it's possible to make peace. But once you keep it going and you say, I'm not going to do it, so you're not hurting him, you're hurting yourself, and you're causing yourself that you're over a love or you to make yourself sick. Amar Rabbi Yossi put it, this is a parenthesis. Amar Rabbi Yossi, kol achoylek al malchus beis David, whoever separate himself from the kingdom of David HaMelech, rola kishay nachash, then he's worthy that a snake should bite him, should poison him. Adoniyahu was one of the people that started a new separate out from the kingdom of David HaMelech. So Zoichale refers to a snake. So if Adoniyahu, the pasuk is stressing that because he was arguing against the kingdom of David by starting his own kingdom, so therefore he was worthy for a snake to bite him and poison him. Amar Rav Chizda says, now we talk about not only kingdom of David, but kol hachoylek rabbi. If someone starts, let's say, goes up against his master, in other words, he starts a new yeshiva to separate out from his master, from his teacher. You have to be careful. It's like you're separating away from God's presence. Those that went against Korach, the pasuk describes it, that went with Korach's group against Moshe, were actually firing up against the Eibishter. If you make a debate with your master, it's like you're making a debate with God's presence. Someone who has gripes against his teacher, it's as if you're having gripes against the Shekhinah. If you say your Rebbe is too strict or insensitive, it's like you're saying the Shekhinah is not sensitive. Shnema lo yaleinu to learn sechet ki mal Hashem. Amar Rabbo says kol amahara ach rabbi ki amahara ach Shekhinah. If someone says bad things covering up, he's looking to find fault in his master, right? It's as if you're trying to find fault against God. Which means that a teacher is somebody that you have to hold on a pedestal. Even though if you go with the magnifying glasses, you can see his faults. But again, since he's your teacher, you have to not let your thoughts get the better of you and the words get the better of you, depending on your mood, because you should recognize that because he's your teacher, he's like God talking to you. And if you do that, it's as if you're, arguing against God. Now the pasuk describes sometimes a person has wealth, and that brings his downfall. It's there to cause bad things to happen. That refers to the wealth of Korach. All their wealth, which made them stand on their feet, that refers to your money. That causes you to feel good to feel confident. Well, after today's stock market, I'm not sure if people are feeling confident. But referring money of a person gives a person confidence. So Rish Lakish said that the Korach had tremendous wealth, and that brought him the confidence to challenge Moshe. he had 300 white mules to carry the keys to the safes where Korach stored his wealth. 300 mules just to carry the keys, and all those keys were like of leather, I believe. They were made of leather, and therefore, so it's not so heavy. And you needed 300 white mules to carry those keys. It's just for the storage. Amar Rav Chana, Amar Rav Chanina, Gimel Matmonius Hitman Yosef Mitzrayim. Yosef, who gathered all the wealth in the world, he gathered and hid him into three different treasures, and it was hidden away. Achas niskalchel Korach. Korach discovered one of them. V'achan niskalchel atininas benas veirus. And King Anthony of Rome found another. The achas of one of those treasures, Genuzah tzaddikim lasud lavai, was destined for the tzaddikim in the future world. Rabbi Yochanan said, Korach, he died, loimin ablum, not from the people who were swallowed up in the ground, loimin asrufim, and not from people who were burned by the. There was a fire that went out and burnt the 250 people who brought ketoras. But Korach didn't die; he just died in the plague. Loimin abluim, he wasn't swallowed up in the ground. The ksiv es kol ha'adam asher leKorach. The loy Korach. It says only the people that were with Korach got swallowed up, and not Korach himself. And Korach was not burned alive. The fire consumed 250 people. Korach was not part of the 250 people. But Masnit Ton in the Brisa, we were taught Korach min asrofim imin ablon. Fakir, just the opposite. Korach was burnt alive and he was swallowed up by the ground. Min ablum the ksiv ativla oisam the es Korach. Min asrofim the ksiv. So the Brisa seems to disagree with what Rabbi Yochanan said. Amar Rava. Rava said, "My diksiv." The pasuk is going to describe how the heavens were so angry. Somebody challenging Moshe, they begged God to stand up against Moshe, and God's going to be angry at the heavens and the celestial bodies. He says, "You're asking me to stand up for the honor of Moshe, but they're people not respecting me," says God. They're bowing to you, and then you don't say anything. Anyway, what does the pasuk say? Shemesh yoreach omad zavula la'or chitzechi alecho. Basically, the sun and the moon went on strike, and they went to this place called Zavul. Melamed she'ola hashemesh v'yireach lezvul. Amr lefan v'rabbanim shloim. Imata oisa dilan ben Amram. If you defend Moshe ben Amram, Neitzei, then we're going back to work. But if we don't do that, if you don't defend Moshe Rabbeinu against Korach, we're on strike. God threw arrows at the sun and the moon. And God was angry. And the honor of a human being, Moshe Rabbeinu, you're protesting. But in my honor, you don't protest. But when people bow to the sun and the moon, you don't say anything. But and right now they don't go out until God throws and forces the sun and the moon to shine on earth. Darsh Rava, my diksiv. Why does the pasuk say the bria of Hashem fatzasa damas pia? Moshe Rabbeinu is saying, may God create something and the ground should crack open. In bria Gehenna, if God's going to create Gehenna mutav, great. Vimlav yivra Hashem. Then if God did not create a Gehenna yet, now is the time to create it for Korach. Lamai. What did Moshe Rabbeinu mean? Did Moshe ask God to create something new, something called it Gehenna? There's nothing new under the sun. God doesn't create anything new after the 6 days of creation. Ella, what Moshe Rabbeinu says, L'karave Pischa. Moshe is asking that God should bring the opening of the Gehenna right underneath where Korach is going to fall in. And Korach fell in, or according to some, he didn't fall in, but those people that were with him fell in, and they fell right into the mouth of Gehenna. Says the pasuk, Uvnei Korach le'mesa, but the boys of Korach, the sons, did not die. Tana Rabbi Shimon Rabbeinu Amru, in the name of Rabbeinu HaKadosh, it was said, Mokum nisbatzel lehem beGehenna, v'yashral olav v'amru shura. There's a special place in Gehenna that, elevated spot, and they're sitting there and saying Shira. Amar Rabba Babachana said, Zimnechana hava ke'izna barucha. One time I was walking on the road. Amali Hayu Tayal. This Arab Bedouin came to me and said, Tov achvi lach belui de Korach. Let me show you exactly the spot where Korach was swallowed up. Azo, says Rabbi Babachon, I went, Chazet trey busy to have a konafe kitraminai. I saw two holes in the ground and smoke was coming out from those two holes. Shakal gavava da amra. The guy, my guide, took a piece of wool and amshemai and soaked it in water. And he put it at the edge of his spear, and passed it across where the smoke was coming out, and it became singed. That's how hot it was, that even though the wool was totally sopped in water, it got burned. And then my guide, my Bedouin guide, said, pay attention, what do you hear? So I knew that this was the place of Gehenna. And I hear sounds coming from this Gehenna. Moshe and his Torah are true, and they are falsifiers. In other words, they're referring to themselves, Kairach and his group. We go to Amabeis. Amalei, so the Arab said to Rabbi Babachama, every 30 days they go through Gehenna like a piece of meat in a pot. And every 30 days they pop out and say, Moshe, they say Moshe is true and his Torah is true and we are liars. So this is what happens every 30 days. So someplace on planet Earth, you could find that spot and you could hear the people of Korach screaming that once every 30 days. Then we learned Dara Midba Ein Chelik HaMabah. The Dara Midba will not have a Chelik HaMabah. Not only that, they will not give Chelik HaMabah to get punished. So they're a little bit better off than the Dara HaMaraglim. The Torah Rabbanim. Dara Midba Ein Lehem Chelik HaMabah. The Dara Midba have no Chelik in Olam Haba. Shnema Midba Azeh Yitama V'Sham Yimisu. Those that died, those that was in the generation of the Midbar, those people from 20 to 60, the pasuk says they're going to be done, and they're going to end their life there, and there they will die in the desert. There's a pasuk that we say on Friday night that God swore in his anger to that generation that was in the desert. I swore they'll never come to Menuchasi, which refers to my Olam Haba. Divrei Rabbi Akiva. So Rabbi Akiva is of the opinion that the Dor HaMidbar, goodbye. They will never see them in Olam Haba, in the future world. Rabbi Lezer, I met Hein Boy in Olam Haba. Shnema, they are coming to Olam Haba. Shnema, Isvili Chasidoi Korsi Brisi Alei Zaba. The pasuk in Tehillim says, God says, gather me my pious ones, the ones that originally cut a deal with me, which refers to Dara Midbar, because they were the original group that cut a deal with the Eibishter and accepted his Torah. So then, okay, so Rabbi Elazar says they are coming to Olam Haba. Elmani Mikayim and Shbati bi Api. What does it mean? I swore in my anger. Ba'api Nishbati. I swore in my anger they're never coming to Olam Haba. V'chazarnu bi. Now I regretted it. So according to Rabbi Elazar, they are coming to Olam Haba. Another 3 more minutes and then we'll stop. Rabbi Yeshua ben, we'll do just a little bit after the Mishnah. Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha Aimer. Leinema pasuk zel kederas dar sabam shnema isli chasudai letzadikim shebechol davidar karsa brisi el chanani mishol bazai shemasu asam so like kavesh o eis alizavech elu Rab Kiva chavesh shmatza asam shchita al direi Torah. Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha is of the opinion that they're not coming to Olam Haba, and that the Dar HaMidbar is gone. They're never coming back. So now, what is isli chasudai karsa brisi? That refers to different other people that God really wants these people around him. They're tzaddikim in every generation, specifically Mishal Vazaria, Hanani Mishal Vazaria, and Rabbi Akiva. These people gave up their lives. But again, now the Gemara goes back and forth. Reb Shimon ben Asiya Omer, Boin Hein L'Olam Haba. They are coming to Olam Haba. Shnema F'du Yashem Yeshuva V'Otzim Rina. They're going to return. Amar Rabba Babachana, Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Shavke Rab Chisider L'Chasidisaya. Rab Akiva abandoned his normal piousness. A pious Reb Kiva is usually Michael, and usually you would think that Reb Kiva would be the one to say that they are coming to Olam Haba, and yet Rabbi Kiva seems to say that they're not coming to Olam Haba. Shnema halach krasi b'asnu shleim leim mischatu lechesnu reich ahavas k'lusayach lechtech achar v'mem be'eretz lois ruah u'ma achem bo mischusam heimatzim le'kolshkem. God says, I remember that group of Dara Midbar. They followed me into the desert like a bride follows his groom into the desert, And so God was so, nostalgic about them. And we're here and we're going to Olam Haba because of them. So of course, they should be going to Olam Haba. So in other words, Rabbi Yochanan was wondering, how could Rabbi Akiva not agree that they are coming to Olam Haba, the Dar Hamidbar? Another 2 minutes and then we'll stop. Aseres HaShavatim, those 10 tribes that were deported to one place, the 10 tribes of northern Israel that were deported, they're never coming back. Their children are coming back, as you can see, Ethiopians maybe, but they themselves are never going to come back, I guess, Olam Haba, because God threw them. The Pasuk says that I'm going to throw the Jewish people in one place, one land, and we darshan mahayoin haylech ve'in chaza. The Pasuk says they're going like the day, just like one day. Once a day passes, it's never coming back. Avheim holchim ve'in chayzim. They're going and they're never coming back. Rabbi Akiva, again, Rabbi Akiva is strict that the Anshe Aseres Shvatim, those that were around during the time of Sancheriv, are never coming back. In Chiyas HaMesa, Rabbi Lezer Omer Kayam Hazeh, they are coming back, like the day. Ma Yom Maful Meir, a day gets dark and then it lightens up again. Af Aseres Shvatim Shafei Lahem, that it was dark for them, they were deported and died somewhere else outside of Israel. Kach Asidi Lahar Lem, it will eventually become light for them. They are coming back. The 10 Shvatim. Continues the Gemara, another few more lines. Those 10 tribes that were deported during the time of Sancheriv, they're never coming back in the future world. Shnema, Vayichem Hashem Alef Mosam, Vavchem Ketzav Gdol, Vayichem Alef Mosam Boyam Mazeh, Vayashtechem El Eretz Acheres Boyam Abba, they Rabbi Akiva. So Rabbi Akiva darshans from Sukkim that God abandoned them totally, even for Olam Haba. Shimon ben Yehudi Ish Kfar Akko, and Rab Shimon, Ima saying Kayam Mazeh Ein Chayzim. If their actions are like today, then and that means they never did tshuva, not coming back. Vimlav, if they do tshuva, they're coming back. Rabbi also says, they are coming back to Olam Haba. Shnema, by Yemahu Yitaka Shayfa Gadol, and every person that was thrown to a strange land is coming back. And again, the 10 Shvatim was thrown to one place. Us, Yehuda and Binyamin, were thrown all over the world. So we're for sure going to Olam Haba. The question was about the 10 Shvatim. And we'll leave off over here. Rabbi Akiva is no longer a pious person, because Rabbi Akiva is saying that the 10 tribes lost their chelik in Olam Haba. Shnema halav klosas devam eretz vayim v'mata shuva mishuva Yisrael nu'um Hashem v'loy ape pana bechem ki chosid ani nu'um Hashem loy eter lo'olam. I'll not hold this grudge forever. So the pasuk seems to say against Rabbi Akiva, that says that God will not hold this grudge against them, and that they will eventually, the 10 tribes will eventually come back. La'olam haba. Okay, we'll stop over here.